What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the new and improved Bone Spirit Necromancer build in Diablo 4 Season 8. This particular setup was popular in the previous seasons, but now it is even more overpowered if you just change few new things. This setup right now has the strongest burst damage potential in a single attack, so we're talking billions of damage. Bone Spirit has the largest skill damage multiplier possible in the whole game, and when we prioritize reaching 100% critical strike chance, then the damage from a single Bone Spirit can one-shot a pre-tormented boss. So after a bunch of testing, this is for sure the Seasons 5, the highest DPS Necro build. So if this sounds interesting to you, then let's get right into it. Let's start off with the skills, and we will be using the Blood Mist, Bone Prison, Corpse Tendrils, Raise Skeleton, Decrepify and Bone Spirit. And in the Book of Dead, we have selected the Skeletal Warriors, 2nd Reaper upgrade, then in the Skeletal Mages, the 3rd Bone Sacrifice upgrade, and lastly in the Golems, the 3rd Iron Sacrifice upgrade. Since Bone Spirit deals its damage in a small radius around it on impact, so the entire build is made to pull all enemies together for one big massive AoE shot. By using the Corpse Tendrils, it will apply vulnerable, stun and pull everything to one location, which makes destroying massive amounts of grouped up enemies extremely fast and easy. And when we assemble Exodia in the form of the Banished Lord's Talisman, then you can tap into the Overpower to drastically increase our one-shot potential by respeccing into new powerful multipliers, maximizing our life with the Fortify and Uniques, including the Blood Moon Breaches. The automatic overpower critical strike damage gets truly insane. So then moving over to our skill tree, and this is what we have. And by the way guys, you can find a link to this full build and website guide in this video's description. For this setup to work, you need to have a level 50 character and have finished the campaign, which is extremely easy to do in the current season. So then in the first section, we spent 2 points on the Bone Splinters. Although we will not use the skill, we just want to unlock it for the enchantment and just to progress to the next part. Then we move over to the next section and spend few points to unlock the Imperfectly Balanced, Unliving Energy and Hewed Flesh. All of these passives will increase our damage, and when we stack a bunch of them together, then you will see how we get this insane DPS numbers. Then next up we move over to the third section and spend few points to unlock the Blood Mist and Bone Prison, and then spend few more to enhance it. Blood Mist is the cornerstone of the build. This gives you full immunity, creates corpses and increases your movement speed. But the Bone Prison is your second on-demand vulnerable. It physically stops monsters from closing the gap and engaging us. It also counts as the 6th minion for the purpose of Requiem, which increases your max essence by 7. Then in the next part we unlock the Decrepify skill and spend few more points to enhance it, and as well to get the Death Embrace and Amplify damage for insane DPS buffs. The Decrepify skill applies a powerful CC effect that also causes a lucky hit proc to reduce the cooldowns of your skills. Then after that we go into one of the last sections, and this is where most of our bulk points will be spent. So we want to unlock the Corpse Tendrils and Bone Spirit, and then most importantly get all of these 3 passives called Compound Fracture, Rapid Ossification and Evulsion. Like I said in the beginning, the Corpse Tendrils is an amazing CC tool and has the vulnerable effect that makes enemies take 20% increased damage. And of course the Bone Spirit skill is our main damage dealer, that just simply, when we line up everything, we use it to wipe everything on our screen. Then in the next section, we only unlock the Inspiring Leader or increased critical strike chance. And finally for our key passive, we select the Ossified Essence. This is very straightforward. The more essence you have when you cast the Bone Spirit, the more damage it does. So that's why I keep mentioning how important the passives are and why we want to stack them as much as we can. Then next up, let's take a quick look at our gear, and I will show you 2 setups. The first loadout will be a quick 30-second showcase of what you can use immediately with 0 grinding required. And then after that, I will show you the full endgame setup. So upon finishing the leveling process and approaching the endgame grind, many of the aspects you use are already available to use from the Codex of Power. There's no reason you should not put them to immediate use, since they can be imprinted as often as needed as you upgrade your gear. So start off by using easy to get legendaries like the Aspect of Might on Helmet, Then for chest armor, get the aspect of disobedience. Then for gloves, the Edge Master's aspect. For pants, the aspect of protector. For boots, the Wind Striker aspect. For weapon, the aspect of swilling curse. For amulet, the aspect of torment. And for both rings, the Requiem aspect and the aspect of grasping veins. This early setup gives us a functional build to begin farming with. The Codex of Power has many damage multipliers available to fill out your imprinted gear, while focusing on the essence management and crowd control leads to the best success in the early game. Your primary concern is being able to generate essence on demand to always be able to cast the Bone Spirit. This becomes significantly easier once you have the Shattered Spirits, but before that, the Torment on an amulet grants us a passive boost to your passive essence generation. Also, a two-handed weapon with the Swelling Curse helps to bring the gap to 100% critical strike chance, which is important for the build to function properly. But then when you have a bit of grinding complete, and this build is functioning as it should, then now we can look into our fully completed endgame gear, which is extremely optimized setup. So for the helm, we equip the unique item called the Harlequin Crest. Then for chest armor, get the aspect of hardened bones. Then for gloves, the aspect of Cerutation. For pants, we want one more unique item, the Blood Moon Breeches. Then for boots, the Path of the Trollghoul. Then for our weapon, we want to use the aspect of Grasping Veins. And for the offhand, the Imprisoned Spirits aspect. Then as far as jewelry goes, for amulet we use the last unique item called the Banished Lord's Talisman. And for both rings, we get the aspect of Torment and Requiem aspect. And then last but not the least, for gems on the weapon and armor, we want to use the Ruby for overpowered damage and life increase. And then for all, so the amulet and both rings, we want to get the Diamond Gem for 8% resistance increase to all elements. And as we use it 3 times, so overall we get 24% resistance to everything. Then next up, let's go over to our Paragon board. And as there are 225 different choices that I made, so I won't explain each one's reasoning. But most importantly, what you need to know is that this board is optimized to give us as high damage by stacking damage increase and crit, while also not making us extremely squishy. So on the starter board, follow this path and select the Amplify glyph for 150% magic bonus, and enemies affected by our curse skills will take 10% increased damage. Then next up we have the Bone Graft board with the Corporal glyph for infinite uptime 10% damage increase bonus. Then next up we have the third board called the Flesh Eater with the Gravekeeper glyph for 3% damage increase for every close corpse to us, and this can stack up to 6 times. Then we move over a bit to the left and select the Blood Bat with the Essence glyph for 22% damage increase when we damage enemies with our critical strikes. Then next up we have the Cult Leader board with the Dead Riser glyph for 15% increased damage from us and the minions. This will last for 10 seconds. Now we go all the way to the right side and get the Scent of Dead board with the Dominate glyph for when you overpower an enemy. All of our damage is increased by 12% for additional 5 seconds. And lastly we go back all the way to the left side and just select the Blood Begets Blood board with these specific nodes. And then finally, we have come to the last and final part, which is the gameplay and our skill rotation. Like I mentioned at the start of this video, our Bone Spirit skill deals its damage in a small radius around it on impact, so the entire build is leveraged to pull everything together for one big massive AoE attack, and this is essentially our gameplay loop every single fight. Managing your resources and cooldowns is also crucial to the success of this build. Each crowd control effect that you inflict upon enemies will trigger the aspect of the Umbral. This means that you can stack multiple crowd control effects in order to get incredible essence generation. And if you really grind in the endgame, then you can even use a non-minion Bone Spirit Necro that will boost this insane damage even a bit more. And this is exactly what you can see from my gameplay. So as far as the rotation goes, in simple words, at the beginning of the fight, we want to get close to the enemies and do starting damage by using the Blood Mist. Then we use Bone Prison, which will physically stop monsters from closing the gap and endangering us. This will also activate the 20% damage buff. Then next up we use the Corpse Tendrils for even more amazing CC. Then the Decrepify, which applies a powerful crowd control effect that also causes Lucky Hit proc to reduce the cooldowns on our skills. And lastly we use Bone Spirit to do the massive damage. So essentially we use Blood Mist to engage/do AoE damage, then Bone Prison, Decrepify and Corpse Tendrils for crowd control stacking, and finally we do insane one-shot damage with a Bone Spear. And then lastly, of course, if you choose to use minions, then always make sure that the maximum number of minions are by your side by activating the Rise Skeleton skill. But if you really grind in the endgame like me and you want to be a bit more riskier by using the same build, just not having the minions option and getting a bit more DPS increase, then you can do that as well. But I really don't recommend it for most players, so stick to the minion setup. And that's about it. So with that said, I really do appreciate everyone for watching guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or suggestions, then feel free to leave your comments in the comment section down below. And while you're doing that, please click like, subscribe and enable that notification bell, so this way you could support the channel and not miss any more amazing content. With that said, you have an amazing day and I will see you in the next one. So take it easy, peace.